What's up, guys? Welcome back to my closet. This video is being lit by a candle shaped like a cauldron and a Lady Gaga candle. Anyways, I thought I'd talk about like my insane Pride Club group chat, cause that was a fever dream of an experience. Okay, yeah. Let's start. First of all, if anybody that was in that group chat is somehow miraculously watching this, hi. What the fuck? Can we bond over weird experiences after I left? Can you guys update me on what happened after I left? Because I want to know. I'm high-key curious. Because my friend didn't really do that good of a job on it. But whatever. So anyways, the Pride Club group chat was obviously created after the Pride Club, which was primarily super popular in like 6th grade. And I don't want to be like accuse anybody, but this was in 2021, 2022 when being gay was considered cool online. And it was still like arson. I love knives. I'm gonna live off of monster jokes, So I guess it was a pretty bumping club, and there was free candy. And so they would typically have there were hosts, but everybody would go around and be like, "Oh, what's something gay that happened this week?" It was weird. I remember one time I thought and said, "Oh yeah, my cousin who's like 6 came out to me as trans," and everybody was like, "That's weird." Like they thought that was weird. Like, isn't this like a supportive club? Like, you do realize that people at any age can realize that they're trans or gay or bi or whatever. And it's not like a teenage thing, Anyways, we didn't really do much. I think we threw a couple parties, but it was just like us and teachers. And it was just us being like, you guys should be more woke. My math teacher showed up, and this was in 6th grade, and I hated her. And I was like, can we kick her out? I was just there for the free snacks, and my friends were there. And we would all like talk and, try to get to work on things like that, but no. And it was in this like really secluded little room near the doors because the health room at the time was being used as an extension of the cafeteria, so students could social distance during lunch. But we were like, oh yeah, this is what happened, blah blah blah. That's a general gist. And we were like, this is actually a pretty big club. Let's make a group chat. And we're just like, yeah, let's do that. So we all have a group chat. We all join. And 6th grade, it was fine. It wasn't like anything notable happened. We threw a couple parties. We had the day of silence. It wasn't like nothing crazy happened except for the fact that there was this one guy in there, and he and my friend used to, I don't know what the hell that was happening, but my friend was at that part, and they would just like high-key bully him, and he joined the club to prove that he wasn't straight, because my friend was like, you're straight and I'm a trans man, and that's when he's like, actually I'm bi. I'm still gonna be weird towards you, but I'm bi. And I guess that's why he was there. And then I just made a lot of connections that way. And then 7th grade was when shit got really weird. For starters, I let them choose my name, and I think that was a big mistake. I was like, because at the time I was going by Piper. Actually, everybody that was in that Pride Club and anybody who could be at my school watching this, if you call me Piper, I'm actually gonna slime you out, or however that word is used. I'm gonna kill anybody who calls me that isn't a close friend and can use that term in accordance. Because I was like, I think I'm more neutral now. I'm more like woke. I had like a short non-binary, not like a phase, but I was like very confused. I was like, if I'm a demigirl, that's just me being like a girl but also using they them pronouns. that's not cool enough. I gotta be non-binary. So they let them pick their names, and there was a lot of good ones. We settled on my current one, which is Fern. I know I said Vern in my intro, but TBH. I don't think anybody can try to find me. I'm not that I'm like super cocky about, my security and all that, but like, it's really hard to find people named Fern, like to find a specific narrowed down version of my name. Given that's a really common like last name to have. So my name is Fern, and I think the other ones that we had was like Axel, Virgil, which because I had a really weird obsession with that name. Or like Alex, I don't know. But we picked, and everybody's like, yay, okay, and I started using it and stuff. Whatever. First mistake. Second was that because this was in 7th grade, there was a lot more 6th graders, including this one person. And I'll just call them, my candle is flickering randomly. I'm really sorry. But for the sake of it, we'll call them Candy. So nice. Candy is like, comes in, and it's like, I don't mean to like judge on looks, but it was like you look at them and you're like, oh yeah, that person can make a good Starbucks venti. They have like a shaved head. They were chill, like they were really into it. And good for them. I'm not gonna knock on somebody just because they're like gay. I'm bisexual myself, I went through like 3 gender crises in like the span of like 2 years, so or my gender has always just been fucking nuts, whatever. But anyways, they were like interesting, and they brought a lot of their friends into it, and we were like, okay, yeah, that's awesome. As more like people during the group chat, it became increasingly obvious that there were some kids that were like moderating, or that like had like rules set up in the group chat. And for one, I remember one time after club ended, they're like, can we be serious in the chat, guys? We need to, it's a Pride Club group chat, it's for club banners. Please don't post photos of like Dracula saying homosexual at the bottom. That's not on topic. Hello? It's a Pride Club group chat. It's a 7th grade Pride Club group chat. Like the people that were like the moderators were like 8th graders. And it's not like anybody, it's not like that. Then it's not like that people were gonna listen to them. Anyways, they did that, and then what else? Yeah, and they tried to keep it serious, and they kept reminding people, because around this time the Heartstopper TV show had come out. I've read Heartstopper. I have my issues with it. I don't think it's the perfect piece of literature like everybody says it is. I have issues with how people treat the characters. I have issues with how people, treat the cast members in general. But it's a fine piece of literature. But Candy and like her group of friends really latched onto it. Like, I mentioned in the beginning, there's like the do something, say something good that you did this week. They'd be like, oh, I watched Heartstopper, or blah, blah, blah. Or, oh, I was talking to somebody about a Heartstopper ship, or whatever. And it was crazy. And also at this point, people were being added to the group chat that weren't even in the club. Like, my best friend was added, and they were not in the club. But they would talk about it in the group chat, obviously, and I guess that's against the rules, even though it was at the time like the gay media to consume. And they were talking about it, and they were just like, everybody's like, can you please move that to another chat? And Candy's response was, oh yeah, just turn off your notifications. And we were like, some people can't do that. you're like, yeah, some people can't do that. Some people need their notifications on another buzz on. It's really distracting. Do it in another chat. And they're like, well, we don't have each other's number. This is a group chat, my guy. And at this point, we're like, you please make your own separate chat because this is getting really annoying. And my friend was like micro-modding, and then people had an issue with that. And it didn't get to the point where we were like, we had to say it aloud because obviously there was a teacher watching us, and she wasn't going to be, and she was probably going to have issues that we were like, can you not talk about gay media in a gay group chat? And like call people out because that wasn't very ally of us, And I don't know, they kept doing it for a bit, and a lot of arguments would break out, over like really stupid things. Over that people were leaving the chat because nobody was like listening to them or respecting them or whatever. Somebody's broke up with like their partner, and they were talking about everybody's like, that's not our problem. The partner had like thing going on. It was a messy time. But eventually I was like, I think one club day there wasn't a lot of people that like the Candy wasn't there, or I had to do field hockey, so I left early, and apparently Miss Aloy was, the club had ended early because first off, Miss Aloy had to get, that's not her name, Miss Teacher had to get like knee surgery or something, like, yeah, she had to get like a knee surgery. And so we had to leave early. And I remember like a huge fight happened outside between like the moderators who for the purposes we'll call Crow, East, I don't remember who else was like the moderators, but Crow and East and like somebody else. I can't remember who, but they had like a big fight, and they were talking about the chat. And then somebody else was like, oh yeah, a group of guys walked by in Kalos fags, and nobody was listening to them. And they were like, they repeated it, and like some people were in the thing was like, we know. It was messy. I was so sick of having the notifications go off and having people be like, you talk about it, and everybody being like, stop it, and they're like, no. I was sick of it. And I was like, you know what, I'm leaving this chat. It's toxic as hell. Because it was. Some people were expecting it to be like a Discord server where everything was perfectly in line and you could do whatever you want, and it was like neat and everything was like this perfect happy place. And other people just thought it was a group chat full of gay people and they could talk about whatever they wanted. And some of those topics were not okay to talk about in the group chat. That was for private DMs. You know who you are. And I was like, yeah, it's mostly Candy and like their friends because you guys aren't listening to us. You're just purely ignoring them. This isn't being fun for me. This isn't fun for some other people. My friend was like, yeah, I agree. I'm going to leave shortly after. And then I left the group chat, and I was like, yeah, this group chat is like really toxic. I left. They added me back, I think, just to like hash things out, and I was like, dude, no, I'm done. And I left for good. I don't know what happened after that, but what I do know is that there was only like 4 people that showed up in the school yearbook for 7th grade, and like less for 8th grade. So I have no clue what the hell happened, but that was like the single most intense moment ever, because it's like, sorry, you just don't like that just doesn't happen. I honestly could also talk about Candy, because Candy wasn't a good person, or really isn't a good person. So a lot of people in that chat that I've like known and acknowledged, but that's just kind of it for today's video. I just felt like talking about that club because that was insane. I remember I told my mom I was leaving, and she was like, oh, oh, I thought you were having such a good time. Like, I was, but A, they stopped handing out candy because some fat asses were taking more than one, and B, because, oh my god, I could not put up with the drama. And I remember I felt, like, so badass and cool because my friend was like, oh yeah, you're, like, leading a revolution, so many kids are leaving. So, you know, that's just my thought. Sound off in the comments. What was your insane club experiences? Alright, bye.